Hey gadget groupies! I had a problem. I've been traveling more, and the ability to edit and render video on the go was becoming more important in my role as senior editor at PocketNow.com. My 4-year-old Lenovo Twist was a great laptop for getting some writing done or recording a little audio, but was woefully underpowered for any kind of video editing, let alone rendering. A dedicated GPU was mandatory, but I also didn't want to lose out on a touchscreen. I was seriously considering systems from Asus, Dell, and MSI. I've genuinely enjoyed gaming systems like the Lenovo Y700, and even a Surface Book wasn't completely out of the question. Ultimately, though, after a long conversation with Thunder E from Bored at Work, I eventually decided on Razer and was lucky enough to time my purchase with the initial batch of pre-orders for the brand spanking new 2016 Blade. Allow me to introduce you to Nagaina, my new mobile workstation. What we have here is a 14-inch monster. The new Razer Blade features a 3200 by 1800 resolution display, powered by a combination of Intel Core i7 6700HQ quad-core processor, a GTX 970M graphics processor, and 16GB of RAM. I'm reviewing the base model Razer with a 256GB SSD, which retails for $1,999.99. Adding $200 will give you a 512GB solid-state drive, but everything else remains the same. Walking around the hardware, this is one sexy machine. The shell very much recalls what we like about MacBook Pros. The aluminum frame feels durable enough for regular travel, though the coating used might have issues with scratching. This is obviously not the thinnest possible portable, but considering the powerful internals, it's surprisingly svelte, overall larger, but thinner than the 13-inch ultrabook it's replacing. The ports on board are a little lean, but fairly future-facing. We get 3 USB 3.1 rectangles, an HDMI output, a 3.5mm combo headset jack, and happily, this little oval here. This little plug here is a new Thunderbolt input. It can double as USB Type-C and power multiple monitors. It's the port of the future. Though folks looking for Ethernet or a built-in card reader will be disappointed. The keyboard surface is wonderfully laid out and feels great under the fingertips. I do miss the clackier keys from my old Lenovo, but the Razer provides solid, if a bit shallow, tactile response for typing. What's more fun is the amount of options for customizing color and response. I prefer keeping color uniform and a bit on the muted side, but you have plenty of room to deliver even seizure-inducing strobes. This glass touchpad is excellent, fluid, responsive, it handles gestures well. Maybe my only serious hardware complaint is with these terrible mouse buttons. They feel kinda cheap, and they're placed so far on the edge as to require hand repositioning off of the main keyboard. The touchpad is so good though that single, double, and triple finger tap gestures mostly replace what you might need these terrible mouse buttons for. And we have a reasonably good pair of speakers pointing up from the keyboard, though plugging in a decent pair of cans will deliver a fuller audio experience. A Razer calls this screen QHD+, some have called this a 3K display. Regardless, it's a crisp, colorful screen. Though the glossy look will certainly show off the fingerprint smudges, which are sure to accumulate. Happily, the Blade delivers a proper 60Hz refresh rate, unlike some of the other high-resolution laptop screens we've played with in the past. And above this display, we've got a solid 1080p webcam. Twitch streamers and vloggers will certainly appreciate having a decent camera on board. So how does this thing perform? Well, other reviewers can tackle the gaming prowess in greater detail, but the GTX 970M on tap here is plenty capable of providing fast frame rates for 1080p gaming and all of the eye candy turned on. Playing at the native resolution of this display, the Blade will start to struggle with more demanding titles. But I didn't buy this thing for gaming. That's just a nice perk. What I have here is a mobile computer which is almost as powerful as my home workstation. This is fantastic hardware for getting work done. Running this through our Sony Vegas test rendering 2 minutes of UHD video, the Razer completed the render in just over 16 minutes. This is nearly 3 minutes faster than the Lenovo Y700 we recently reviewed, and it's just over 3 minutes behind my desktop with the 6-core Intel 5820K and a GTX 970. Super sexy, right? I'll have almost no compromises when it comes to producing content in the field. The main issues facing this as a work platform are the same complaints we've seen in the past from using high-resolution displays. Icons in Vegas are ridiculously tiny, and photo editor GIMP is similarly difficult to use without a high-res icon theme. This scaling situation is still handled a bit better on Macs with Retina displays. While working, fan noise is definitely present. It gets very loud while rendering, but this dual blower cooling solution prevents a high-pitched engine-style whine, and the blade gets really warm, but it's never gotten uncomfortable for using in my lap. The system is also impressively long-lived considering the hardware on tap here. Running a movie test, streaming 60 minutes of HD video over Wi-Fi at 50% brightness, resulted in about 19% battery drain. Plenty of room to watch a couple films while doing some writing at a coffee shop. You'll probably only land about an hour of graphics-intensive gaming off the charger though. Lastly, in terms of longevity, we have pros and cons. This is a powerful system which should hold up well for software updates. Popping this cover off is easy enough to clean out system fans and upgrade the SSD. The 256GB drive is plenty quick for read speeds, but write speeds are mediocre. A future upgrade to a larger drive will definitely help that out. I do have a concern over the RAM being soldered into the motherboard, but 16GB of memory should hold up well for some time. So let's wrap this up. Buying this thing was actually an agonizing process looking at all the options available. But now that she's here, Nagaina is gonna fit right in. It's smaller, more powerful, and has better battery life than the Y700, though it's about $200 more expensive for less storage space and a slightly lower resolution screen. It also compares really well against a MacBook Pro. For the same price, you get a higher resolution touch-enabled display over Apple's Retina non-touch screen, Thunderbolt 3, and a dedicated GPU which is more powerful than even the higher-end MacBook Pro's Radeon R9 M370. I mean, seriously, a $2,000 MacBook uses Intel integrated graphics? Really? Come on, Apple. So I'll be keeping this machine. I think Razer has a winning option here. It's less expensive and more powerful than last year's Blade, and it competes really well against other options on the market. While gaming systems are obviously targeted at, well, gamers, these options are proving to be terrific mobile workstations for those of us who need computers for both work and play. As always, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to this channel for more gadget reviews like these, and join me on PocketNow.com for my smartphone and mobility technology coverage. You can chat me up on Instagram and Twitter as Some Gadget Guy, and I will catch you all on the next review.